We'll be back from the break. It's 3 minutes past the hour of 8 o'clock. I'm Joran Paul Sonko, and this is Smartmeans Business, your morning kickstarter. What a way to kickstart off your morning as well. It is another money-making day, and you will choose right when it comes to choose again. Okay, now, in our coffee code today morning, we take you back to an interview that our reporter, Rona Nahawe, had with the general manager, Total Energies. And then also, during the same interaction, she had conversations with the director, environmental management, that is at the Petroleum Authority of Uganda, Mr. Kosheshe. In these conversations are entirely about the issue to do with Uganda's oil and gas, where Total Energies signed a memorandum of understanding committing to transform the Albertine region. And during this time, Total Energies believes that they will be developing the Albertine region, and the best way to do so as well, it's because the Albertine region will be covering, most importantly, if I'm to say, will be covering, for example, will be covering not only oil and gas, but when it comes to housing, settlements in there, and also when it comes to the infrastructure around the same area. So in this particular one, we look at Uganda's oil and gas in deeper understanding to see how important this is for Uganda and how important this memorandum of understanding was. It is the Coffee Cut with Rona Nahawe.
My name is Nahawe Rona, and today I have a very important guest who is going to introduce himself and tell us what has been happening today at Total Energies. From the bits of it, Total Energies has signed 4 agreements in the projects that are going to enhance the activities in the Albertine region. So you're welcome. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. So my name is Philippe Grouex. I'm the General Manager of Total Exploration Production Uganda, Total Energy, Exploration Production Uganda. And we are here today, I will say, to sign 4 very important agreements as a first step of action towards what we aim to achieve, I would say, with this project as a positive outcome on biodiversity and I would say on the local community and region. And these 4 initiatives are very important because there are some flagship initiatives, each of them on 4 different sectors, and that showcase really the commitment not only of Total Energy but also on Petroleum Authority of Uganda, and together with our implementing partners. And it's only all together that we'll be able to really deliver what we aim to deliver.
Expound on the activities in the cultural heritage, biodiversity conservation, and then also the safe way, right way. How is Total Energies going to impact and improve its sustainability?
So today we signed 4 agreements. The first one, I would say, on the cultural heritage, because there will be economic development and changes happening in the region. It's important that all this economic development and changes, are not seen as opposed to the culture and to the heritage of the culture, but it's important to capitalize the culture as a foundation for economic development. And what we aim to do with this program is to solidify, I would say, all this foundation, cultural foundation, so people can build on it.
So, Mr. Philip, do you like animals?
I'm very fond of animals. I'm very fond of I spend so much time of my life, in the wildlife, in the nature, etc. I'm a big fan of nature and wildlife.
Okay, so how has Total Energies Uganda contributed to the biodiversity conservation, especially the Tilenga project?
It was an important decision to develop in a national park. And while doing that, we know that we'll have an impact. And so we decided to do so because we believe that it could be also an opportunity, I would say, to have a side program beside, I would say, the core oil and gas development program, to have a lot of side programs that will target to have at the end a positive impact, to make sure that Murchison Fall area will be in a better condition because we are here versus if we decided not to come. And that's really the objective, and it's just because we believe that we accepted to go and partner together with the government of Uganda to develop these resources, because we truly believe that we should not oppose biodiversity and the national park and with this development, but they can fit together and benefit from each other. And at the end, I would say Uganda will benefit from the oil production, but will benefit as well from improved biodiversity and better national park.
So I know this is a little bit out of context, but you signed an agreement with Safeway and Rightway, and I know this is road safety and all. And when that was signed, when that was mentioned, my mind went back to the road transport. So can you comment on the escalating fuel prices, both locally and internationally, away from Total, and what is your comment?
The fuel prices is fuel is a commodity, so the fuel prices is the result of the tension between offer and demand. There is currently high demand worldwide for petroleum products, and while the investment over the last years has been not that high because of COVID, etc., because of the pandemic, and this is a result now to see that the market is tense and has driven to the prices to go up, and we do expect that they will calm down in the near future. And I would say it's also an evidence that on the short term the world needs energy, needs oil, needs gas, and of course we should not forget about the necessary transition and the necessary also development in parallel of renewable energies. But it's an evidence that we cannot transition immediately from the current world which is consuming quite a lot of fossil fuel to no fossil fuel. There is a transition, and we have started this transition. We'll accompany this transition as a multi-energy company, but today there is still need for oil and gas.
Okay. To wrap it up, how far with the progress of the Tilenga project?
We are progressing well. We are progressing well. The drilling activity will start before the end of this year, and today you can go on site and you will see that things happening. I would say a lot of people have been already mobilized, a lot of contractors have been mobilized, and we are progressing towards the first oil in 25.
And congratulations, by the way. So you made compensations, some houses were built in that regards, and I think that is good, a good name for Total.
Yes, we are currently, I would say, close to the end of the land acquisition process, and we engage with all this, what we call project affected persons, and make sure all of them, I would say, they receive fair and transparent compensation. And all the primary residents have been relocated in the nice houses where they have water, they have electricity, and I think they are all happy with their new houses.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for allowing to speak to us.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
We are still at the Total Energies Biodiversity Launch, and with me is the Environment Director at Petroleum Authority of Uganda, Dr. Kobusheshe, who is going to give us his insight or more insights about what he thinks about the conservation of Total Energies in the Albertine region. Thank you for allowing to speak to us.
Thank you for having me. So what we have just witnessed is the signing of 4 MOUs, Memorandum of Understanding, with different partner institutions that included the Safeway, Rightway, Wildlife Conservation Society, the Chimpanzee Trust, and the Eco Trust Foundation, in different areas of road safety, biodiversity conservation, culture, conservation, which is also very, very important, and then in road safety as well. This is a further demonstration of government's commitment of the oil and gas sector and its partners' commitment to ensuring that oil and gas activities coexist with all the other sectors of the economy. In this case, biodiversity conservation, tourism, culture, heritage, socio-economic and cultural heritage, a very important aspect as well, and of course are undertaken in harmony with the communities in which they are being undertaken, and that's where the aspect of the road safety comes in. This is in addition to a number of other interventions that have been undertaken. You heard earlier when this was being explained that the two programs under what we call the net gain initiatives are aimed at ensuring that the Tilenga project actually leaves the landscape, Murchison Falls National Park, the forests within which some of these oil and gas activities interact or impact. They are left in a much better state than before the oil and gas activities were undertaken here. So the whole concept of a net gain concept is that beyond avoidance, beyond minimization, beyond restoration, beyond no net loss, at which point all the impact of a project have been mitigated, then there is an additional value in terms of a net gain in each of the four pillars that are being pursued under the net gain program, which include wetlands, biodiversity, forests, and the fisheries sector.
So, as Petroleum Authority of Uganda, how do you think this whole project, in regards to the four agreements that have been signed today, how do you think these projects, because I'm sure they're going to, all these agreements are going to put up projects in that area, in the Albertine region. How do you think it's going to affect the business community in the Albertine region?
First of all, the four agreements that have been signed today, that was mentioned, is just a small number of the many interventions that are either already happening or that are going to happen. Now, you need to look at each of those and the contribution that it's making. Road safety, you had the statistics at the launch, which are very worrying statistics, that here in Uganda, when you get on the road, it's as if you are in a war zone, because we lose more people on Ugandan roads than people dying from malaria, than people dying from war zones like the Ukraine-Russia conflict. A day, the statistics were about more than 10 people a day dying from our roads. So what we have been seeing, because of the contribution of the oil and gas sector, it's making in the Albertine Graben, the road infrastructure has improved, people's livelihoods are improving, and they're expected to even improve further. And so you have the employment opportunities being created there. That has increased the volume of traffic, the speed at the roads, and we are beginning to see an impact in terms of road safety, more accidents being registered. So as a mitigation measure, you had from the program interventions, especially within the communities, the school-going children, creating more awareness, working with the police to improve road signage, road infrastructure, humps, education awareness, information materials being distributed under this program, so as to, and enforcement as well, so as to mitigate the road risk. With respect to the Tilenga Murchison Falls National Park, here it is to do with the increased activities within the park that are going to increase pressure in terms of more people getting into the park, more people coming within the area, yes, for employment, because a lot of works are going to be undertaken within or around that area. So again, with this anticipated increased pressure, then you have the interventions coming in, building the capacity or enhancing the capacity of the Uganda Wildlife Authority. You had the Wildlife Conservation Society talking about the partnership that they are going to have with the Uganda Wildlife Authority in terms of enhancing their capacity to monitor and enforce the petroleum activities that take place within the Murchison Falls National Park. So more rangers being recruited, more rangers being trained, more community and personnel education, the do's and the don'ts, and of course enforcement.
Away from this, Petroleum Authority of Uganda, what do you think is the fate and what do you think Ugandans should do to attain more fuel? Precisely these fuel stations, Shell, Total, the crisis everyone knows about. What is your take? What is your take?
I think what the crisis does is, first of all, show the need for us as a country to enhance our energy security. The fact that the events happening so many miles away
Yes.
from Uganda, a conflict that we as a country are not involved in any way, but it is impacting us as severely as it is doing. So that shows that something needs to be done. And what needs to be done in this specific area is enhancing our energy security. We already have a problem of access to energy poverty. And now we have a problem of energy security, even that where the access.
2025, that is how many years from now? 2025, that is when we shall get our first oil. So right now.
There is, right now, you will be, I will be digressing into other factors, I think, which the responsible people have elaborated. I would stay in my lane of regulating the upstream and midstream petroleum activities. Right now, the interventions would go into the macro economic policies. They would mainly deal with what we call the downstream petroleum sector, stocking more fuels and things like that. Those are the interventions that have been spoken about. But if I go back to my lane, I think the most important message here for Ugandans is that these problems we are witnessing today, the activities that are being undertaken in the oil and gas sector with respect to exploring for more oil, producing and refining our own oil, they will move us closer towards solving the problem that you're mentioning. If it is in 3 years' time, yes, there is hope that in 3 years' time we can have this situation under our control, rather than be seated here helpless and hoping that the world or some other people there will come to an agreement and then solve our problems. We need to be finding the solutions to our own problems, and the work that is being taken forward now is a major step towards achieving that.
I think that's true. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for watching today's episode of Coffee Court. Total Energies Uganda has been reinforcing its sustainability initiatives in the biodiversity conservation, safety roads, and cultural heritage. Of course, this is majorly in the Albertine region, and it will seek and grow the economic part of the country. My name is Rona Nahabwe. Be sure to watch the next episode of Coffee Court. It's goodbye for now.
All right, it's still a good morning from us though. So we're still here to drive your business and pretty much give you more as it's supposed to be. Well, when you look at the oil and gas sector, the environmental concerns are some things that we cannot go by without mentioning. These are things that we should really consider and have at the back of our minds, that it should be something that we should remember, especially about this issue of oil and gas. Well, when you look throughout the different innovations and that are actually ongoing, and then also look at the projects that are being set up in the Albertine region, all this is supposed to be a way to help and foster Uganda's oil and gas production in the long run. And we hope and understand that by the end of of the entire preparations when we receive our first oil in 2025, the neighboring areas, and then the Ugandans will be able to benefit from this oil and gas sector. Well, that brings us to the end of our coffee court. After the break, I will be back with our topic of discussion. Stick around, and this is your morning Kickstarter.
Smart 24, driving business.
This is Jordan.